sorry. So, I had gotten the epidural, and I was told by my midwife that she would come back at midnight. At this point, it was around 9 after the epidural was placed and I was settled back in. She said, I'll come back in 3 hours and recheck you, and we'll see where we are. You should be around 7 centimeters by then. So I said, okay, fine. They had me sign a release because they wanted to give me an elective C-section because the baby was 10 plus pounds. And I told them I wanted to do a trial of labor, and if the baby was too big to pass down, my cervix wouldn't dilate anymore and I would just go for the C-section. So she came back at midnight. I told my husband if I had not changed by midnight, we were going to have the C-section. She came in at midnight and checked me. I was between 7 and 8 centimeters and 100% effaced. And she's like, you're doing so great. And she said, you know, first time moms are normally 1 centimeter an hour, so you should be ready to push by 3 o'clock. So I said, great, perfect. So I tried to go to sleep, and about an hour later, I said to my husband, I don't know what to do, but I feel like I am just going to be ripped in half if I don't start to push. Like, I had an intense feeling. So she came in to check me again and I was complete, and that was around 1:15. So she said the baby is still very high, and if you started pushing now you would probably completely wear yourself out, and you need to try to labor down, breathe the baby down. So that's what I did. For the next hour and 15 minutes, I worked on relaxing everything and trying to picture the baby moving down into the birth canal. At 3:30 a.m., it was like 3:15, I had called the midwife again and I said, we have to start pushing because I feel like I have to. So she checked me again. She said, okay, the baby is here. You need to get into the position and start pushing. So it was 3:30 when I started pushing, and that for me was the worst part. Now, I know a lot of people say that the actual labor is the worst, you know, the contractions are really intense. For me, it was the pressure in my backside that I just could not explain. It was so intense, and because the baby was so big, the midwife had told me before I started pushing that they were going to bring the OB that was on call into the room in case they needed to do maneuvers, because if the shoulders got stuck or if they had shoulder dystocia, they would need the OB in the room, and they wanted the perinatologist to be in the room too. So 3:30 started pushing. My husband was a super great support. He really, really was awesome. But there was a point when the baby was crowning, the ring of fire, that I really was panicked. I was like grabbing onto him. I was, you know, telling the nurses, like, I can't do it. There's no way I can continue doing this. Let's go get a C-section going. You know, I can't do this anymore. And there was one nurse that, she wasn't my nurse, she was the preceptor to my nurse, because my nurse was still in orientation. And she really, I mean, I don't think I could have done it without her. She really motivated me in the way I needed to be motivated. She was very stern with me and told me that I can do it and I will do it, because this baby has to be born and I'm the only one that can do it. So if I'm not going to do it, then this baby's not going to be born. So at one point they told me, you know, the baby's crowning, the baby's right here, you know, a couple more pushes and we'll be done. And I actually called them all bullshitters, because I knew when you're about to really give birth, the person who's going to catch the baby is gowned up. I knew that the OB would have to be in the room, and they had told me that the baby had just passed meconium, and I knew that they would need to get the pediatric team in the room. And nobody besides the midwife and the nurses that were holding my legs were in the room. So I knew that there was no way that I was close. And I had given 3 pushes, and I was so exhausted, and I waited out a contraction, and I said to myself, like, these next 3 pushes, you really have to make them count. So after the next 3, the midwife finally gowned up, and I knew, like, it's go time. We are going to have this baby. The OB came in, and the perinatologist and the pediatric team came into the room. And I was pushing, and she said to me, the midwife said to me, I'm going to have to cut you, which was like the thing I did not want at all. But at that point, if they had told me they would have to reach in through my mouth and pull him out, I would have said, that's fine, perfect, let's do it. So I had another contraction, and I said, I'm sorry, I simply cannot wait, I have to push. So she said, okay, push. And I pushed one more time, and thank God, before she cut me, his head was out. And the feeling of just joy, and I just couldn't believe how much better I felt once his head was out. And his head was out, and you know, they told me don't push, and I heard them suctioning him, and he didn't cry right away, but they didn't want him to cry right away because of the meconium. So I had another contraction, and I pushed one more time, and his shoulders were out. So he was not 10 plus pounds. He was 9 pounds 4 ounces, 21.5 inches long. Still a pretty big baby, but not as big. And he was perfect. They took him over to the warmer. He cried. Pediatrician listened to him. The neonatologist listened to him, and his oxygen saturations were perfect. His APGAR was 9 and 9. I couldn't believe how pink he was immediately from being birthed. Like, I had always seen lots of blue babies, and he was so pink and so perfect. So that was that. And then delivering the placenta, which I thought would be like a piece of cake, was not that simple. They upped my Pitocin, and she did end up pulling on the cord to get my placenta to come out, which was unpleasant. But I would have to say that the worst part after delivering all that was just getting stitched up. I did tear, I had a couple first degree tears, and I had asked her, how many stitches are you placing? And she said, I don't count. So I have no idea how many stitches I have or had. And to be honest with you, after the experience, I swore I would never have another baby. But at this point, if you asked me to get pregnant and have another baby, I would do it in a heartbeat. He's more than worth it. And it's funny how quickly the memory of the physical pain fades. Although I know it was horrible, although I know in my mind that it wasn't pleasant, I forgot just how bad it was. So yeah, that's my labor and delivery story. Nothing too exciting. I'm just hoping that my next birth will be what I want it to be. Natural, hopefully not past 41 weeks, and that he or she will be just as good as of a baby as Harris is. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.